We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly, presented by Pluckers. I'm Craig Way, and pleased to be joined during this portion of the program by the Longhorns Director of Program Development, Nevada Smith, who is with us now. All right, let's first of all make sure we're setting the record straight that when you were playing basketball at Bethany College in West Virginia, there was nobody in the country that was a better three-point shooter than you. Is it true or false there?
That's a true statement.
I love that you hit 313 threes during your 4 years. By the way, I do pride myself on knowing where a lot of colleges are. Where is Bethany College in West Virginia? Where is it located?
It's right on the Panhandle. It's about 45 minutes west of Pittsburgh.
Okay, all right. So not far from, say, Wheeling or in that area?
Probably the closest. I don't know if I'd call Wheeling a city, but Wheeling's probably 15 minutes away.
Okay, all right. During your time, you led the nation in three-point field goals per game as a junior. You hit 313 career threes in your 4 years. So you could speak to shooting a little bit before we get to the adjustment of your role during these days and time. Clearly, you enjoyed shooting the basketball a lot back then. How much of that for the folks who want to know a little about the science of shooting the rock, shooting from outside, is feel, rhythm, distance, things like that all goes into shooting three-pointers?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into it. Repetition has always been the most important thing in my mind. I think if you can have repetition and simplicity, the less you do, the less it can go wrong. I'm a big believer in that. I'm probably one of the only people in the country that teach free throw shooting without bending your knees. Just less can go wrong. So less is more. You kind of develop moving forward. You watch all the great shooters. Reggie Miller was my idol growing up. You watched him compared to like Steph Curry, Ray Allen. There's a lot of different ways to do it. They all look different. But there's a lot of things that are similar. They repeat the motion. It's simple, and the finishes are usually very similar for all the great guys out there. So it's when you're slow and you can't move and you tore both ACLs, you kind of got to figure out a way to make an impact. So being able to shoot was something you could do without having to move a little bit. So it was more of what I gravitated to for sure.
Let me get you to expand on that a little bit about the free throw shooting without bending the knees, because I'm sure some folks probably heard that or watched that and went, wait, what? You shoot free throws without bending the knees? But I guess like with so many other things, there's a science to the technique, isn't there?
For sure. I shouldn't say not bending the knees, not bending when you shoot. So getting into a position with your knees bent and then using your arms and upper body to finish the shot, lifting on your toes. The less you can do, the better you are. I was fortunate enough to coach some great dudes in the D League, and we had James Johnson, and he used to bend down and like put his knees on the ground, and it was just herky jerky and different every time. You see that a lot, and I'm just a big, simplicity is better. So keep it simple and do what you do. Your legs are the first thing to go when you play. So if you can keep it all upper body, you can, repeat those motions.
And I may be off base on this because I'm a terrible golfer, but it sounds almost like what you're talking about with the upper body movement, like what they do with golfers, keeping it in one piece, being able to do it without having a lot of extra moving body parts. Is it something similar in that respect?
Very similar. You kind of look at shooting as a skill within the game, like throwing a baseball, hitting a golf ball, those things that require repetitive motion. You want to make sure you're doing the same thing every single time. When you have a lot of movement in your body, movement in your swing, movement in your arms, movement in your legs, it's hard to replicate that over and over again.
You mentioned the G League, and then after that, we'll get into the transitioning, so to speak, during these pandemic times of your role at Texas. But I want to ask you about one more thing with regard to your background when you were the head coach of the Rockets G League teams, that the one in Rio Grande Valley, I take it. With that in mind, how much of that, and we're talking about guys who have either already played college basketball or maybe just a little bit of it and decided to go pro in some cases, some who didn't even play the collegiate game or might have been foreign imports. How much of that is the actual teaching of what you're trying to do at the G League as opposed to when you're on the floor there in the Rio Grande Valley trying to coach victories out of guys as well? Because I know winning is a taught science as well, but with regard to the actual mechanics of what you're trying to do, is a lot of that the teaching at the G League level, what you're trying to get across to those guys?
I think so. I tried to equate it to, being a small college guy, small college coach before that, looking at it that way, um, looking at it as the step before they reach their ultimate goal, which still requires a ton of teaching. And everyone probably needed something different. Uh, you have 10 guys on your roster. All those guys probably have deficiencies in a certain area that they need help with. And, those guys are usually one area away from making it. And can you make that area? Can you improve wherever that is to get where you want to go? Sometimes it's just guys need to play games. We had Clint Capella. He just needed to play. He didn't need to work too much. He needed to play. A guy like Troy Daniels, who played for Coach Smart, just needed a volume of shots. So you kind of figure out what guys need and cater what you're doing to that, definitely in practice and also in the game.
All right, we're going to have more with Nevada Smith coming up. We'll talk about his role overall with the program, and then in specific of late with the coaching staff as well, as we continue with Longhorn Weekly here, and it's presented by Pluckers, and we'll continue in a moment. Back here at Longhorn Weekly, our special guest during this portion of the program is the Longhorns Director of Program Development, Nevada Smith. We were talking about three-point shooting. Greg Brown knocks one down there in the contest. But I wanted to give you an opportunity, first of all, to discuss the how your work and how the team's offensive improvement, in particular this year, how important it is, and what you've seen, and the steps that they've made during the course of the season to improve offensively, not only shooting the basketball, but the way in which the offense has been run.
Definitely, I think first and foremost, our players have done a great job of improving and getting in there with Cody, Neil, KT, and really doing a great job of working on their individual skills and how it relates to how we want to play on that end. They've bought into it. They're excited about it, and being able to play in space and have some freedom is pretty fun. And I think they really enjoy it.
You spent 11 years at the collegiate level as either a head coach or an assistant, then the transition to the G League as a head coach, 2 years with the Rockets and 3 years also with the Heat as well. And then the opportunity to join Coach Smart as the director of personnel. How did the player development, how did that come about? Because folks would say, well, that's an interesting career path for somebody to lead you to the decision to be a part of Coach Smart's staff.
Yeah, throughout the whole time in the NBA D League, you knew something was missing for me, and I always wanted to come back to college. So that was always going to happen at some point, probably a little sooner than I thought it was going to happen. But I got to know Coach through Mark Dagnall, who's the head coach for the OKC, and just build a relationship. Talked a lot about different things all through the pandemic. This opportunity came up, and it was something that was perfect in my mind. So I could have walked here from New York. So it's been awesome so far.
Okay, so as we talked about this, director of player development as director of program development as the primary role, which, as defined by the NCAA, is not an active in the game on the floor assistant coach role. However, with Coach Smart down, so to speak, and unavailable to be part of it under NCAA rules with KT, the acting head coach, you can have 3 assistants. You are now into that role. How is that different than what you're normally doing with the guys on a game in or week in, week out basis?
Just different in what I can do with them. Just being on the court, being able to teach, doing some different skill development. It's just filling in a role that need to be filled, really. And you're ready for anything, especially this time with everything going on. You just got to be able to really adapt to any situation you get thrown into, and just be ready for it.
Would it be safe to say also that you don't mind being back kind of in the game type of sequencing, going back to your head coaching and assistant coaching days, whether it be at the G League or at the collegiate level, the fact that you're there right in the thick of the fight and drawing up plays during a timeout and helping out KT and the rest of the coaching staff with a given strategy in a given moment?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just fun. Basketball's fun. It's a game. We get to coach a game, and it's unbelievable for, I think, for everyone on our staff, any staff you've kind of been on, of just enjoying it, enjoying whatever comes up, and doing the best you can to help everyone be successful.
You mentioned that something was missing while you were in the G League. What would you say you enjoy the most about coaching and teaching at the collegiate level?
Just the relationships you get to build. In the pro game, it's more of, I guess, utilitarian. You kind of, they usually use them and see where they can get to. You don't build a ton of genuine relationships. Now you do at times, but sometimes you only have a guy for a week. Every other game he's gone. In college you get to build genuine relationships that you have for the rest of your life. For me, I really miss that. I miss the rivalry scene. I miss the big game atmosphere, and just miss being around a certain group of guys that you look at as family. And in the D League, you're around guys for 6 months and then you're gone. You're home and doing different things for 6 months, doing different things with the NBA team. So it's just a different life, and it's fun. The basketball side of it, I was fortunate enough to coach over 250 games in 5 years. It's a crazy amount. You just can improve so much that way. But there was definitely something missing for sure.
Well, Nevada, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. It's great to see you out there and grinding with everybody else again, and we'll continue to look forward as you continue to work with the program as well. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, that's Nevada Smith, the Director of Program Development, with us here. Coming up, we'll visit with another member of Coach Smart's staff when we continue with Longhorn Weekly, seen by those of you watching on the Longhorn Network and heard all across the state of Texas on the Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield IMG College.